So time for our main topic, Dolapo.
Yes. Main topic of the day is something that you probably have all dealt with in some capacity. Either you've had to do it yourself, you're a believer in it, you've had a parent or a friend basically like pull you to the side and be like, hey, be careful with this. But it's basically just a concept of evil eye.
Yeah.
There's probably many ways you can say it. If you're not sure what
the broader idea would be like superstition.
I'm going to ask about that. Yeah, it's a superstition in a way.
Yeah.
But basically, if you've never heard of this concept, or if you don't know exactly what we're trying to say, it's basically the idea of if you have something going on, usually a lot of times it's something good, something successful, something you're happy about. You want to keep it away from the eye of people as much as possible, especially like even your friends. So it's not even just like people you don't know. Like even your friends, like you want to hide it from them. You don't want them to know because you feel like if they know or if they somehow shown whatever is happening, something bad or negative will happen to your good thing.
I think it can go both ways in the sense that like with your friends, it's not even the idea that they're gonna bring any negative energy towards it. It's more like you don't want to jinx it, I guess you could say. So I don't want to share it. And then there's like the other way of looking at it where like if you share it with the wrong person, they will bring negative energy into your life and into that good thing that's supposed to be happening to you. So I think it can be like either like just subconscious, like they didn't mean to like bring anything negative upon it, but people will say like, because I told this person, that's why it didn't work out for me. And then it could be more, nefarious and negative and evil. Like you mentioned.
No, I think there's definitely different levels to it. I think it also depends on what the specific thing is. But a lot of times we think of it as an African thing, but it really is an African thing, which is I kind of like the way you said it about. It's a lot of times about the energy that's being brought to that thing. As much as people are for you and they love and support you, they don't necessarily. People are selfish. I like to say people are selfish naturally. All people are selfish. So as much as someone might be happy for you, if they don't have that kind of thing to be happy for themselves about, they're still going to feel a way about it. It's not 100% true, but that's kind of how you have to assume that people are, right? So, for example, if you're a girl and you have the most perfect boyfriend in the whole wide world, but your best friend doesn't have boyfriend, and she wants boyfriend, she wants boyfriend, like, you probably shouldn't be telling her how your boyfriend is the most perfect boyfriend in the world. Not because she's going to steal your boyfriend, but just the fact that, like, why would you even, like, to me, I'm like, why would you even, like, not show off, but like, just give her some respect. Just,
respect her feelings, her emotions in the matter. I understand what you mean by it's not just an African thing, but I do think Africans take it to the next level. Like you guys already know, our theme for this season is wellness, and I feel like part of an African individual's wellness is this idea of making sure that you don't invite the wrong type of energy into your life and actively acting against it, either by not sharing some of the great things that are going on, but also not sharing like some of the bad things because maybe some people will relish in those bad things, or even actively like pursuing the counsel of a religious leader or whomever to make sure that you're good and that all this evil energy that might be trying to penetrate your life can't. So I think like, at least for me growing up, and I do believe like for a lot of Africans, whether you are in the diaspora or in the motherland, you definitely understand this idea of like trying to protect your sanctity and your goodness and all that's going well for you. You know what I mean? In a way that I'm not sure that other cultures actively participate. I would say mainly Western cultures, because I do think that a lot of cultures across the world outside of Africa, whether it's in like Asia and other Eastern cultures, I do think that they buy into the idea of evil eyes.
Certainly a lot more than like Western cultures, right? Because a lot of Western cultures will see people post everything that's happening. They buy a house, it's on social media, they're telling everyone, and it's like, we don't do like, even let's say like when I got a car, like of course my car wasn't fancy enough for me to show off, but like I wouldn't post it and tell everyone I got a car, but that's what like people do. That's what's, I don't want to say that's what's expected, but like it's a way of life of like norm. You just show it off, like it's not a big deal. Whereas like, why are you showing it off? Why, like, like just keep it to yourself. No one needs to know that you bought this big house. Like, keep your mind to yourself. I want to ask you, do you subscribe to it now as an adult. Like you said, growing up, maybe you didn't have as much choice in the matter. But
Right.
now if you have something like that, like if you, I don't know, you get a big promotion, is that something that you feel like not so much necessarily tell everyone, but hide a little bit? Because I think that's also, it's a good point of distinction. It's not so much about not telling everyone. It's also a little bit of like hiding it a little bit. Like I don't want to make it known.
I think for me, it's never really about this evil eye concept. I think just by nature, I'm more of a private person.
Okay.
So, like, you just won't know much about me unless I want you to know. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Unless I specifically choose to tell you, like, you probably won't know. Like, scrolling on my social media page, you won't really know much about me. You know what I mean? About like my intimate personal life.
Mm-hmm.
You'll know like the type of music I like, the type of clothes I like to wear. That's about it. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure that it's because I'm actively thinking about the evil eye regularly, or like the idea of other people's energy penetrating my life. But maybe it's a subconscious thing. Like maybe it's because I realize that like not everybody has your best interest at heart, or not everybody is gonna look out for you or whatever. Like maybe that's why, but I don't know that it is. That's just me actively thinking out loud right now. I don't.
Yeah.
For me, I don't think I really don't think I have that in my train of thought.
I don't think that I have it in my train of thought for most things.
Yeah.
But I do think that there are times that it's like, oh, why not? Like I look at it almost as being overly cautious, and I'm like, okay, like what does it hurt to be overly cautious in some situations versus others, right? I know like a huge time that it happens, especially like for women, is like when you're pregnant, especially like African women, like when you're pregnant, your mother would tell you not to post, don't tell anybody this and that. And I think that there's some of that is rooted in the fact that if you think of just 30 years ago, think of like the mortality rates associated with birth, right? Giving birth, like it had to be really low, especially in Africa compared to the rest of the world. So I can imagine that if you feel like, hey, I don't want to tell everyone I'm pregnant, and then something bad happens, it makes sense to me. Like you don't even here, like as much as people share it, you wait up to a certain point. You should anyway, before you post. Like, don't tell us you're 1 month pregnant. Like,
well, yeah, and I think that is just for the sake of your mental, because like a lot of women, it's not discussed enough, but a lot of women go through miscarriages, like more often than you would ever realize. It's very common. So like with that in mind, like you don't want to get everybody involved in this great aspect of your life or something great going on just for you to maybe have to now share the very opposite weeks, months, whatever later. So that I think is outside of even just inviting energy. That's just make sure that you're keeping things close to your chest until it feels more sure. More like, inevitable. But outside of that, I think it's just with anything good. But I feel like people don't talk about bad stuff too, like in the sense that people also, I feel like, don't share bad stuff because they're very worried about people maybe relishing in those bad things and like being like, well, good for her, like or like making it about them, like, well, I'm happy that ain't me, as opposed to like trying to be a support system for you or whatever the case. And for me, again, I don't buy into the evil eye thing as much. So for me, when I'm not sharing bad stuff, it's more like out of maybe not wanting to burden people or putting your own weight on people. But I also think that maybe some of these things are because of like generations of people worrying about evil eye. Does that make sense? Like maybe I've become this private person because I know like my mother, grandmother, whatever in the past have had this concept of evil eye surrounding why they're being private. So it's passed along in a generational way that I'm not even realizing is manifesting today. Does that make sense?
No, definitely. And I think it's why I asked the question about like birth rate and all that stuff. Like I think it goes back and forth and they're all intertwined, where some of it is just a matter of like, hey, that's how we've been doing it for generations and we just kind of keep it going in different ways. And some of it is there are other elements at play that we're not given the credit for, but like that's really why we're doing it.
I see,
you know what I
you
mean?
So like it's not only about the fact that people don't always carry their kids to term. It's also, I see what you mean. Like there's a parallel there that you might not even realize.
Exactly. Like in another example too, like I don't know if this would 100% qualify for the whole evil eye thing, but I know growing up, like my parents always told us like whenever we traveled not to say anything to anyone about going, coming, like just go. When you're there, you can tell them that you're there. When you come back, you can tell them. And like some might see it as an evil eye thing because it's like, especially if you think of like if I'm traveling away, what does it matter if I tell you? Like you're not gonna see me, you can't do anything to me. But it's like, well, okay, like why do I have to tell you? I can tell you when I get there. But I can see how that's born from security reasons, right? Because especially in Nigeria, like going back and forth, you don't know what someone has in mind for you. You can't ever be 100% sure that someone doesn't know someone that knows someone that has some bad intentions. And it makes sense to like, okay, just hold off a day or two before you tell people.
Right.
It makes sense. Like a lot of it makes sense to me. And I don't think it's just superstition, right? Like I think there's some practicality to it.
Yeah.
Have you ever like felt like you were the person given the quote unquote evil eye? Like, have you ever felt like someone was hiding something from you?
Ooh, no, because I think, like I mentioned earlier, my way of doing things is unless I want you specifically to know, you won't know. So with that in mind, I just assume that's how they're operating. Like I'm not thinking that they're assuming that I have any bad qualms or any energy to give them that isn't good. I think they're just like, okay, you know what? Until I know this is going to work in my favor for facts, there's no need for me to share. Right?
So you don't take it personally.
I never take it personally.
Like you just take it like, hey, they're just doing it how they want to do it.
Because I wouldn't want them to take it personally with me. You know what I mean?
Has anyone ever taken it personal with you? That like you didn't share something with them?
No.
And they found out from someone
else.
else
But
or
I've been
something?
the adjacent party to that where like, okay, maybe I knew something ahead of others and they're like, oh, why wasn't I told? Why was she told? Type of thing. And I'm like, again, it's no need to take things personally because even if, okay, maybe I'm not sharing it with everybody, but I choose to share it with one or two people, you shouldn't again feel like any sort of slight from you not being one of those one or two people. It's just like you just happen to not be that person, you know what I mean? And like for whatever reasons that person chose those other two to tell and like just accept that for that. Like you're not owed anything. Like I think the problem is when you feel entitled to other people's information. Right. Like it's just not yours it's not your information to know.
They can do what they want with it.
They can do what they want.
You don't have to be told. You don't have to be part of the circle for every single thing that they go through.
Which is why, again, I don't take it personally. Like if I'm finding something out 2 months later, again, it's like, okay, that's when I was supposed to find out. That's when that person thought it was time for me to find out. Like, or if I never find something out, again, not my right to know.
I mean,
you have your reasons for not
I think
sharing.
I can understand what you're saying. I think it does come down to an element of how close you are to that person. Yeah. For example, I can think of like someone, let's say someone is living with someone else. Yeah. Right? Let's say I'm living with someone. Yeah. And then I decide that, you know what, like I'm ready to get my own place. But then like I don't tell them until like
okay, that's different.
No, but like why is it different?
Because that affects that person. Well, it depends on like if you guys are sharing rent.
Yeah, like I'm saying like no, I mean like they take care of the house. I literally just live there.
Oh, you're a squatter.
I'm a squatter,
okay,
basically.
Then that's different.
But like let's say it's a family member, like a cousin or like a second cousin or something like that. Do you feel like what should they be upset? Do they have the right to be upset? Because basically it's my information. I could choose to share it with them whenever I want to. Me leaving is not actually affecting them because they're still paying all their bills. They're still doing. I'm actually helping them. I'm creating more space for them.
I guess, but I think that's a little bit different in the sense that like even though technically like you're mentioning like if anything you're helping them by leaving, it's still like a part of their day to day that you were leaving in their house. You know what I mean? So with that in mind, like it's still a joined effort or conjoined effort, even though like you're mentioning like it is just you leaving. You're still involving somebody else.
So if you were in that situation, you feel like the best and the right thing to do would be to just tell them that you're moving at soon. So when do you tell them? Like, does it matter?
Well, this is all dependent on.
Say that again, Miriam.
When you start looking.
When you start looking is the right time.
Or when you feel like you're seeing prospect and it's coming soon.
So do you think that they shouldn't? So if you're the person that like someone is leaving your house, you should feel the way if they don't tell you.
So the thing is, like Faye said, like I won't feel I don't have the entitlement.
Okay.
But still, like it's gonna be like I think a little bit like
it's weird
as well because it's like
it's weird.
But it's the evil eye. They're scared of the evil eye. Which is why I'm like, I guess the point I'm trying to get to is like,
if I'm squatting at somebody's house or somebody's squatting at my house, you would think the relationship you guys have should be beyond any evil eye type
you would
of business.
Think, but if they need to stay in your house, like but that's my point. So like, and that does happen where someone would leave and will not say until the last possible minute.
I get it.
Almost as like just out of courtesy.
I have a friend that went through that where they were staying with somebody, but that one again, that's why I started asking about rent, because
that makes it different because you are affected. Yeah.
No, I see where you're coming from, but no, I think this is like a little bit of a different situation. I think this one again involves two people cohabitating, and there should just be a little bit more openness. Yeah. There should be a bit of openness.
Okay. I was just trying to get you guys to accept the evil eye as being wrong or not right. But okay.
How about you?
No, I think that what's the question?
I
start to think.
Oh no! Wait, what did you ask me?
just like, would you feel away? Should you feel away? That kind of thing.
Yeah, like how? Yeah, about like the timing of knowing things and whatnot.
I think that if I was the house owner in that scenario, like I would certainly feel away.
Not even with this house or example, more like just in general. Like, have you ever been on the receiving end of somebody thinking that you might bring evil eye into their life?
I don't think that I have been. In a way that I would know.
Okay.
I think that a lot of people think that way. So I'm sure that I have been, but I can't tell you a specific scenario of like, this was a time that someone, because I'm also not really a gossipy person like that. Like, I'm not, like, to me, like, I'm kind of with you of like, oh, like, I don't care. Like, it's cool. If you don't want to tell me that you got a new job, like, it doesn't do anything to me.
Yeah.
So I understand it. I'm not mad about it. I wouldn't take it personally. But I'm sure that there's people that have, like kind of like you said, like considered, hey, should I tell this person? Nah, I don't want to tell this person. Like, I'll just tell someone else. I don't like. I'll keep it away from them. And I like to think I don't have bad intentions for anyone, so I'm not worried. It's kind of like if someone looks at you or treats you like you have bad intentions for them, but if you don't, then why should you be worried? Like, I don't have bad intentions. I'm not worried about anything. I'm worried about myself mostly. And I understand that people are selfish. I understand that you could tell me something really good happening for you, and I could be really happy for you, and I can still feel a way about it because I'm not happy with myself in that department for some reason, right? Like, I could talk to someone and someone could be like, yo, I just got a job. I'm making $200K a year. I'd be happy for them. Like, damn, you're getting money. Like, but then there is a little bit in the back of my mind of like, damn, I'm not getting money. Like, like I understand that. And I'm always trying to check myself, right? Like, as people, we compare all that good stuff. So it happens, but I don't have bad intentions. Like, I don't want them to not make $200K. Yeah. If anything, it's always from the perspective of like, I wish I was making that as well. Yeah. But I can't do anything to them that will now make me be in their place. So same thing with like the relationship then. Like, if someone is with some girl that like you want to be with, or a guy you want to be with, or like you're interested in, I don't know, like, are you going to try to kill them so they get like, like, what are you going to do? You just accept it and live your life. Things generally work out how they're supposed to. That's what I think.
I have a question for Faye. Since you feel like you don't really subscribe to the idea of it, what if, because there are people out there that feel like a lot of the decisions they've made just doesn't work out because they tell people. You believe in that part, right?
That something didn't work out because you told someone?
A lot of things that they do, a lot of things happen to them because they tell people.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like whatever was going to happen was going to happen. Like, I don't think me telling you. Also, maybe the thing is, I don't know. How much do you believe in juju and like people?
I believe in it to the extent that it exists, but I don't believe it to the point where it affects my life. And I think that I look at it, I know that it can affect, like, it's kind of contradictory to say I believe it, but I don't believe it affects me. Yeah. But it's more of, I'm not going to let that enter my psyche because I can't do anything about that specifically.
Well, the reason I ask is because, like, okay, like, I agree with you. Like, I believe that it exists in some form, some way, somehow, but my inner circle or people I surround myself with don't really subscribe to it, don't partake in it, don't do anything like the sort. So I'm not thinking that if I tell, Jessica, I don't know Jessica, by the way, if I tell Jessica that she's gonna go and meet with the juju gods and like make sure that I don't get that, you know what I mean? So I don't think, I've never thought to myself, oh, I didn't get that job because I'm just like, I didn't get it because I wasn't supposed to get it.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that.
It's a series of, it's not the first time that, like, every single time you have this big movie,
I understand what you're saying.
Plan.
Yeah,
just like a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah, series of it.
But see, I think that the flaw in that, I don't want to say in the question because it's not necessarily the question, but the flaw, what I would say, why I would not find myself in that position, hopefully, is that I would never really think it's because I told someone. You know, like something doesn't happen. I'm always going to find like the most rational reason
That's
to
how I
me.
think.
And that would not be on my list of rational reasons. And it's like with anything, like it's all your perspective. Like that's like my favorite word, I think. But it's all your perspective.
Yeah.
Even something with like racism or something. Like it's your perspective. Like, do you watch Insecure? We're about to go off the rails here.
I watch
But did you watch the episode where she was, where Molly was at the pool?
Bus. Oh, okay.
At the pool, they were in Hawaii, I want to say.
Yeah.
Right? Where she went to get the towel and they didn't give her the towel. And she was
the
like.
Asian guy had a completely different viewpoint on it than Molly.
I completely understood both sides of it. But I don't know if this is a bad thing. But I low-key kind of lean a little more towards the Asian guy because maybe I need to watch the episode again, but I didn't see any blatant racism.
He said the whole she was just doing her job shit.
Yes,
but the
exactly.
thing is, I also
like. What do you
let
see?
me choose my words here.
Choose your words.
I also don't like that it was coming from an Asian guy that was trying to talk about racism because yes, definitely 100% go through racism.
I don't want to go into the actual. My point is just like. The perspective of you don't have to view it as racist.
Well, yeah.
Forget about who's coming from.
Follow me here. That's what I'm saying. The perspective is going to differ depending on who's talking about the racism here. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying coming from an Asian guy who 100% goes through racism as well. Your experience is just going to be different than a black woman.
Of course.
So your perspectives are going to be different based on your experiences. And I don't think you can necessarily impose your perspective on somebody else.
Right. No. Sense? I understand. I'm not trying to get into him and her.
Yeah.
My point is that experience in a bubble. Like if you were in her shoes, do you think that you'd perceive it as racist? Because what I'm saying, I guess, is that if I was in her shoes, racism was not one of the things I would think first. No.
Well then, yeah, but then that's also based on your experience.
Of course, but
I'm saying even as a black woman, much like her, maybe she grew up in X community, blah blah blah. That like it just those like her intentions, meaning the service person, her intentions are just gonna come off as racist because there's been 10 other people that have done it, you know, in the years that prior to her. You know what I mean? Whereas for me, maybe this is like the first time I'm going through it because I grew up in suburban Maryland. So my perspective is not going to jump straight to racism. Does that make sense? So like
it makes sense, but you're making it I guess deeper than I want to make it.
I agree with your point in the sense that perspectives inform everything and inform your viewpoint on the matter. Yes. So I'm agreeing with you there, and I'm just saying I'm literally kind of just bolstering your viewpoint. Like because of perspectives, you're gonna receive things differently.
Yes, and I do like the fact that you brought in experience as well, right? Because going back to Miriam's question, maybe you feel like it's because you told something to someone because there was a time that you told something to someone and that was
a direct
reason.
Correlation.
But I don't really, for me personally, so far anyway, I can't think of I told someone something and something bad happened because they did something or said something. Yeah. So that's not one of the things I'm going to go through on my list of experience, perspective. Like it's just going to be at the very bottom.
To add to that, like kind of like what I've said multiple times now, it's like when you pick and choose, like I do, who you tell things to, you tend to just assume that the person you're telling is somebody you can trust with said information. So like if I was putting it out in the ether all the time and I was the person who was always sharing my news, of course I can expect that like, you know, Jessica down the street that I don't really have a relationship with is maybe bringing bad things into my life. But if I'm picking to just tell like 3 of my friends, I'm going to assume those 3 people aren't going to do any, you know what I mean? Aren't going to deter my, or change my outcome.
Yeah. And I do think that the whole evil eye thing is very tightly linked to gossiping. Like it's tightly linked to the way that people talk.
Yeah.
So, you know, even though like we always said like, no, we'll never think it's because we told someone. Like if you know that you're telling someone that has a big mouth, then you can maybe go back and think like, you know, it's just we need a very specific example to be able to say if it makes sense. Yeah. But just thinking through it, I could think of someone telling me an example of they were in a relationship and it seemed like everything that happened in the relationship, someone else was talking to them about it. And it was like, well, I didn't tell anyone about it. And my boyfriend didn't tell anyone about it. But why is my other friend coming to talk to me about it? You know, and it's like, and it actually really affected the relationship because somebody was talking. She obviously wasn't her, so she blamed the guy. Yeah. The guy said, "I didn't tell this person." Like, you know what I mean?
What you're describing is like a whole shit pile of drama and gossip, and like you said.
And it's tied to, maybe we wouldn't call that evil eye necessarily, but I can see why it's like, listen, keep your business to yourself, which is really what the evil eye thing is about, more or less. It's like, keep your business to yourself as much as possible because nothing good usually comes out of telling everyone or having everyone know what's going on. Yes.
Yeah, and pick and choose who you tell, like people you can trust that, you know, they won't just go and start screaming your business from the rooftops. Like, that they'll also be very cautious about who they're sharing your information with, if anybody at all.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely the takeaway.
Of
what?
That is the concept of evil.
That be careful who you tell.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
that's, I mean,
that's what we're
so
saying.
Maybe what you're trying to get us to say is that we also are believers in the evil eye.
No, have we said that we don't believe in it? I believe in it.
Basically, is that our forefathers, whoever it started from, they use that, they coined that term, but then it's kind of grown into something else, which we use a different word for. Yeah. Which is like privacy.
Okay. Exactly.
Okay.
But
yeah,
it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
And I can see it. Like I said, I can see it as very tightly linked. Like maybe evil eye sounds more like juju-ish, black magic, maybe. But it's basically stay away from the loose mouth. Like however you want to, like, you know, gossipers, you know, people that talk a lot. Someone that comes to you with information all the time, like they're spreading your information too.
Yeah, I like that. I like that point. I like where we're leaving it, in the sense that it's just become something else. It's evolved and manifested into something else, but the roots are, you know, of the evil eye type of term.
Definitely. All right, want to do some shout outs?
Yeah,
real
sure.
quick. I know you had a shout out. I don't think I had a shout out.
I don't really have a shout out. I had something I wanted to bring people's attention to. If that's what you're talking about. I know that there's like a situation going on in Greece right now with a bunch of immigrants. Like, I think about 1,000 or so have been pretty much left at sea. Like, they were rounded up, or they're in the process of being rounded up, and they're being taken to sea and left with just a life jacket and nothing else.
Yeah, and they're basically being kicked out the country, but I mean, we have laws and there's so many policies in place where kicking someone out the country doesn't mean like literally just taking them to the border and telling them to walk. Like, there's actually a whole bunch of this, like, diplomacy. Like, there are people that are supposed to handle all this. So yeah, shout out to all those people that are affected. Hopefully they're safe. I don't remember seeing anything about deaths so far with that story, but the story that we read was very like shallow in details. So, you know, our prayers and thoughts are with everyone that was affected by that. And just anyone, any immigrant, anywhere being kicked out for whatever reason, you know, it's a hard life, like trying to migrate sometimes.
Let me just do a call back to that topic on the USPS. I think it was, I can't remember which congresswoman. It was one of the more liberal, progressive congresswoman that was like, defund ICE and fund USPS. Like, we put so much energy into demonizing the immigrant community. Even though obviously most times their intentions are so pure and they're just looking for a better life. Like, you guys have heard the spiel, I would hope. So like, rather than putting so much energy into that, maybe worry about funding the USPS and making sure democracy can go on as planned. So I think that was a very poignant, salient point made by, I wish I can remember her name, but
that lady. Yes. And shout out to everyone for listening. Shout out to everyone that was here for our 50th episode live. I know we shouted them out already, but we're really happy, so we have to shout them out twice. Yeah. Anything else?
No.
All right. Thank you for listening to the episode. Thank you for watching the video. Leave us a review, rate us. And we'll talk to you later.
Subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.